Well, Roi is the name Roi in French means king, and Roi Carmel is the king when it comes to accelerating deals because his agents that his team has created allow autonomous deal execution. And that is a dream come true in my view. And I'm so fascinated by that because I ask you in preparation of this to actually do a demo so people can see for themselves how that magic works. So I let you take over and I will sit back and learn on how you can help sales leaders transform their teams and win more deals and accelerate revenues.
Thank you so much, Gerhard and Mark. Great to be here. Excited to talk a little bit about Spotlight and what we see in the market and how we're building this autonomous deal execution solution. But maybe before we start, I'll just, by way of introduction, just say why I started Spotlight. I'm the founder and CEO of Spotlight. And the reason for starting Spotlight about 3.5 years ago was that I've been involved in multiple companies. Some are mature, growth, and early as an executive, and built these sales frameworks and value frameworks for amazing selling teams and value sales teams with some of the greatest CROs and leaders that I was extremely lucky to work with. But what we saw constantly, again and again, in a very repeatable way, is that building the framework or building the playbook, even though it looks like a hard task to do, is actually the easier part of the whole journey, which is operationalizing that playbook. And that led me to understand that adoption of these playbooks and adoption of the methodology is really where the challenge is. And with the maturity of AI, we decided to launch Spotlight AI to solve this problem at scale. And so with that, I'd like to share a few slides about who we are, as well as what we're seeing across our customer base, and then save some time for a short, very short live demo, which of course we'll be happy to expand later through our booth or if you contact us in any way. So I will share my slides and just a quick overview. We're a Boston-based company with some raving customers. Some are bigger enterprises, some are mid-sized to big enterprises, integrated across the tech stack, which we'll see today, to embedded in Salesforce, integrated to either Zoom or any other recording or virtual meeting tech, Google, Microsoft stack, and so on. What I want to talk about is really what does autonomous execution is and how we're breaking it down. And so the first level of breaking it down is breaking it down to the qualification of the deal. In this case, I've chosen MEDDICC or MEDPIC as the leading framework. It could be any framework that you choose to qualify the deal. And the value selling activities tied to the framework. And the things we're going to talk about today is adaptive role-based discovery and how Spotlight AI plays into that, how conversational intelligence is aimed at the value conversation and driving insights around value. And in previous sessions, I've heard conversations in this conference specifically about how to capture value and not to sell on price point. We'll talk about how to drive adoption for MEDPIC qualification, which again we know there's a hot topic in the industry. You're going to see multiple maturity levels of teams all saying they're doing MEDPIC or MEDDICC, but in very different levels of adoption and operational excellence. And then specifically within the M of MEDDICC and the I of MEDDICC, if you drill down to the identified pain or the metrics, which is the I and the M, how do we dive in to get metrics to drive business cases and BVAs to arm our champions, right? 'Cause champions are the people who sell on our behalf when we're not there, and we need to arm them. And arming them is actually a very labor-intensive and skilled task. And lastly, really, how is that integrated into the sales process so that we don't create yet another chore for sales reps and go-to-market roles to go out of what their day-to-day is to go do this additional activity, which is really part of the biggest problem in getting adoption, is stopping the day-to-day of what people do for their job and telling them, now you need to do also X. And so how we integrate that seamlessly and streamline that to be part of the DNA of the company, the DNA of the sales motion, that's key to drive adoption. So if we break this down to one level more, I want to talk about the qualification and execution challenges that we see across our customers. And so the first really is, there's really no objective way for many teams to drive a predictable pipeline. And the reason is because there's very little evidence in their forecast, and a lot of opinions. And we all know, we all have been there when, sales rep stands up and presents their committed deal for the quarter in the QBR and gets inspected by managers or questioned by managers. And almost everything they bring to the table are opinions or their understanding of the situation with very, very little evidence. And so our goal is to be able to separate evidence and opinions. Opinions are good. They should be there, but they should be clearly separated from evidence. The second is really, how do we capture this information? And so, in the last 20 years, so many teams have been capturing information in text boxes in their CRM, which is the best way they had to do this, but we all know is the worst task for a sales rep to spend their time on. And it's a mandatory evil to create visibility for the opportunity, but usually it doesn't really help them to drive deals. And also, even with AI agents, listening to calls, summarizing the calls, capturing snippets and entering them into the CRM as text fields, that really drives very little value because the end result is some manager needing to log in the after hours and read those notes, even if they're snippets of relevant information from the call. So it doesn't really scale well. The third piece here is really what to focus on next. And we know that everybody who's been selling has a level of wishful thinking and happy ears. We love talking to people who are happy about our solution. And so being able to separate that from what I really need to go get in this opportunity and focus on what matters is key to drive the deals. Fourth one is bad data hygiene to understand winning patterns and overall strategy. No need to say more about that. We talked about arming champions with business cases and BVAs. This is really hard to do. Usually for large organizations, there are people who do this as a dedicated role, but there's never enough. And so they become a bottleneck. They need to scale out. And also qualifying the right personas. Who is my champion in the deal? Who is my economic buyer? Should be done consistently, but is very hard to do consistently and have evidence back it up. And so this is sort of a summary of all the challenges we see across the board. And so what does Spotlight do? Spotlight is an autonomous squad of value sales agents that get deployed to an opportunity and do a bunch of things synchronized to drive this opportunity forward. The first one is it's really actively listening to the customer and matching what they hear from the customer to the playbook of the company and driving an adaptive discovery guidance for the rep. The second is it qualifies the deal. And we're going to see a very short piece of the demo of how it qualifies the deal, specifically in our case on MEDPIC. So it matches what it hears to this framework in a structured way, not by creating keywords that match a text snippet. It also can generate the actual presentations and assets that the rep needs to move the deal forward. So that might be taking the first meeting deck, adjusting it based on what we've heard for the second meeting. It might be creating a full business case if we got the metrics during the call, or it might be a battle card if we uncovered the competition in our discovery. So generation of these assets, customer-facing ready assets, as a core capability, and there's a dedicated agent just for that in the squad. Next, call preparation. We create follow-up emails for the rep to cut down the time they can follow up on, highlight their next steps, generate the right assets right after the call so they can be very focused on the next steps. And all of that with an autonomous discovery bot that's constantly listening in the background and then activating the other agents that we talked about. And so what I want to do with the time I have left, I'm actually going to skip some of the slides and jump to the demo so we have time to see this. We are fully embedded in Salesforce. We also can run as a standalone, but Spotlight is a native Salesforce packaged application in the App Store. You can find us in the Salesforce App Exchange with ratings and everything there. You could see that this opportunity seems like it's on the second stage and the first stage is done, but Spotlight on the right side is saying there's actually a gap on the first stage and you might want to look into this gap. And from a MEDDICC perspective, this is the MEDDICC status of the opportunity. Each letter here, for those who are not familiar with MEDDICC, represents like a qualification gate. So E is economic buyer, M is the metrics that are needed to build a business case, I is the identification of the pain, and so on, champion, competition, and so on. And this is a standard framework in the industry. So if we really quickly want to hone in, as a first-line manager or as a rep preparing for my one-on-one with my manager, I can hone in on, okay, so what's missing in my identify pain? It's a red tag, which means I've left a gap behind for this item. And if I click on it, I get an immediate view of all of the activities that make up this I in MEDDICC. And you could see that some of these activities have been satisfied. Use case was identified, there's several use cases, and they're identified as structured data. This is not a text summary. This is really something that revenue operations can now analyze at scale, right? The second piece is the compelling event is actually missing. And so this is a key point that's missing in my eye, and this is why my eye is red. The second thing that you see is that some of these items are colored green and some are white. This is how we separate evidence from opinions, right? So green means the Spotlight agent found reduced risk and improved efficiency from the transcript of the call and chose them out of the set of use cases that you have in your playbook. And so I'm going to click on the Spark here, and that's going to take us right into the evidence all the way to where the customer said that this is the area they're focused on. And you could see that we even had more than one call. We had a call on May 2nd, which we can jump to really quickly and see the evidence in front of us. We had another call on May 6th that gave us another use case. And in between, we had an email that was sent that added more information about these use cases. And so the combination of all of these gave us a clear indication of two use cases that have evidence, but nothing related to compliance. But the rep actually thought there's a need to add compliance here, which is fair, but very clearly marked. And so this is a great way to understand really how do we get from a complete dashboard from a management perspective that can take the whole pipeline and then drive from that pipeline an assessment of what Spotlight believes has some risk in it, even if those deals were committed, dive in to a full Salesforce report with the MEDDICC aspect of those opportunities and the Spotlight score, dive into individual opportunities, within the opportunities to the letter that's missing, to the stage in the deal, to the activity that's missing, all the way to the evidence, creating full traceability from evidence to a predictable pipeline. So this is all the time we have to show some of what the Spotlight squad of agents can do, but this is really taking the sales rep to the next level of really focusing on creating trust, driving the deal from a human perspective, while all the analytical skills that are needed to drive the deals are taken care of with a squad of agents from Spotlight AI.
Roi, thank you so much. Hey, I'll tell you what, you really showed us how we can elevate, like you said, elevate the role of the salesperson using autonomous. I really encourage people, go out to the sponsor booth, Spotlight, check it out. You got to learn from it. Gerhard, what are your thoughts?
It's mind-blowing. I'm blown away. I want to use it. This is so compelling you make selling a lot easier.
Thank you. We're excited. Obviously, we're using this ourselves. And to be honest, we are amazed when we get these insights from our agents, and it's actually driving our innovation forward, just using this every day.
And it
So
gets smarter.
my question is, what do you see the future? Because I see that agents become much smarter when they're better trained based on the data that you already have. So what is the next level of discovery in this chain of innovation?
Yeah, so today we're talking about agents that are mirroring the execution of the rep and actually driving the execution of the rep. We need to think about this a little bit like the autonomous driving of cars, where there are capabilities that are right at our side, but we're still in charge of the car. And slowly, agents will take more and more pieces away from the rep that the rep doesn't need to spend time on, so that they can either manage more opportunities per rep, manage more reps per first line manager, right? Because you can analyze deals better, so your span of control can grow. And the great example is, once you've built trust and you've created the first level of discovery, and you want to drill down with your champion that now trusts you, but you want to drill down into the metrics to create a business case, there's no reason why the agent couldn't handle that call instead of the rep, and actually just say, all we need is a few metrics to drive our business case. Why don't you get on a call with my agent? The agent will get the information, will generate the business case, and then we can get together and think about how we present this to the economic buyer. So slowly, we're going to hand off these analytical roles to the AI agents more and more, where I think for a while, we'll still keep the rep building trust, understanding the power structure, understanding the strategy behind the selling and all the tactics.
So what you're saying is, if I understand this correctly, that the agent is more a tactical tool for the reps so that reps can free themselves to build better relationships, more trust, but also move into the market with a better strategy.
100%. And I'll just throw something out there to get us thinking. As long as there's a person on the other side that's buying, we need the rep on our side. Maybe one day there's not going to be a person on the other side, and that will change dramatically our paradigm.
You're visionary. Thank you, Roy.
Thank you so much.